It'll be 2 minutes, honestly. It won't be.
Thank you.
Okay,
Make it a minute and I'll give you a case of wine.
Hopefully we get, there it is. Hello everyone. Welcome. We are a little special event here tonight. So you can see we have some guests. I'm going to try to look at the camera here. This is obviously a different setup. Everybody tuning in is probably like, where the hell are they?
Where are they? We're normally in our front room. This is obviously not our front room. You hear that red wine?
It's a little slow. We need to pep this up.
It's Neil Diamond.
I know it is.
Well, it's his version of UB40.
We all love Neil Diamond, but you know.
I thought I was being classy.
I like it. You're in Napa Valley. Why not?
So on cue, we're in Napa Valley for the Napa Valley Film Festival. We're going to talk all about that as soon as we can. But we wanted to introduce a couple people who are gracious enough to host us tonight. We're in the middle of Napa Valley, and why don't you tell us who you are, of course, and then where we are and just the backstory here.
So my name is DeMarcus Wells Buckner. I'm the Cru sommelier here for Cru. We're actually at Cru at the Annex. This is our downtown tasting room located at the Napa Oxbow. It's a very relaxed space where our club members can come and enjoy some of our really, really fine wines.
And the wines are amazing, and you serve food too, right?
We do serve food. A lot of the guests like to go over to the Oxbow and grab a little bite to eat and bring it over.
Got it, okay.
And we serve food with our wine as well.
So it's primarily a tasting room.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
But with incredible art and a wonderful setup. It's like a lounge. It's beautiful here.
And I don't know if you can see in the corner of the screen at all, but there's a little bit of heat coming up. We have this great fire pit, and then the whole backdrop here is the patio in Cru at the Annex. I don't know if you can quite see. Yeah, I suppose you can. You can see the little locks on the wall, much like the bridge in Paris. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the locks?
So the Love Locks was just a representation of Paris. In Paris, if you're familiar, they have a Love Lock bridge.
Yeah.
And so when we designed this tasting room, we really wanted to incorporate something more interactive for our guests that come here.
Right.
And so when guests come here and they're tasting their wine, we welcome them to grab a lock, write something special on there, and lock it on the fence.
Cool. Well, we've got a whole bunch of people commenting already. All right, so let's just see. We have everybody. We have a lot of regulars that tune in.
I'm gonna say, hello everyone. I know, isn't this amazing? Wish you were here.
Yeah, hello from Australia. Of course, Phil is always tuning in.
Hi, Phil.
Yay.
Molly Cash is on. My brother-in-law.
Hey.
Welcome, Aaron. But so tell us a little more about the wine. So you were already cheating and drinking.
Yes.
We need to be pouring.
and
you know what,
Lauren here.
why don't you pour for us?
Lauren
Oh, I would love to.
can also tell us some more. This is Lauren Nicholson.
Hi, all. So this is our 2016 Cru Cabernet. DeMarcus, tell us a little bit, as our brand manager of Cru, where these vineyards are located and how special and spectacular this brand is.
So the Cru portfolio was a really spectacular, special brand to me. Just came in hindsight with the vision. Our owner, when he came into the valley, there were some really expensive Cabernets out there, and he really wanted to hit home and make a Monday through Friday Cabernet for our members to enjoy.
I was going to say, that's my kind of wine.
Yes.
Monday
Every
through Friday.
day, Monday. Why not Saturday and Sunday?
After that long Tuesday at work, you know.
Yeah.
And so this one's really special to me. It's 14 different vineyards all throughout Napa Valley blended into one Cabernet.
Wow.
It's
incredible,
a really,
isn't
really
it?
special
Yeah.
Cabernet.
Very cool.
And the 2016 is a very special vintage. Typically for this wine here, we typically do about 5,000 cases of it. For 2016, we did about 6,050 cases of it.
Okay.
Right.
So 1,050 cases more. 2016 was the first year after the drought here in Napa Valley.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So we got
Of course.
higher
Is
yields.
this nationwide? Can you go pretty much to any kind
We're
of
very
wine
selective
shop
on who we
you want?
distribute it to. Some high-end restaurants, high-end wine shops, things like
Got
that
it.
do have it.
So, haha, everybody. Most of you at home will not be able to drink this.
But you can join your club.
Yes.
Yes.
How do you
join
join
the
the
club.
club? Yeah, so is there a website, or how do you guys do
You
this?
go to DeMarcus at vineyard29.com and let him know that you'd like to join. We have a very selective list of people that we can have join because it is a
Nice.
small production.
Very cool. So, oh, there we go. And then we've got our social media expert here, crutheannex.com. You can check out the
Yay.
website there. And then DeMarcus at 29vineyard.com.
Vineyard 29.
Yeah.
Vineyard 29.
You could
Okay.
probably put it on the little thing to let people know that they can check
Let's
that
do
out.
this. If you guys are interested, I'm going to hopefully spell your name correctly.
DAM.
D-A-M. See?
Yeah.
So everybody can see the top of my head and my balding hairline as I type this in here.
There we go. No one can see it anymore.
Yeah. That did it,
My
huh?
yeah, I'll just
Oops.
put my hand over it.
I'm doing this one-handed, and we haven't even tasted this yet. All right,
I
Vineyard
have.
29. Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Cheers,
So
darling.
helpful. Cheers. So nice to meet you.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you for letting us do
Cheers.
this.
Thank you guys
Yeah,
for letting
of
us
course, of
host
course.
you.
Such a great spot.
Thank you so much. And we're thrilled to be here by your fire. And I hope you do have a look at the website at least. You know, have a look, have a wander around, see
Yeah.
where we're at.
Please
Did
do.
you want to add anything about the vineyard at all?
So my name is Laura Nicholson. I work at both brands, Vineyard 29 and Cru Cabernet, and all the other Cru wines that we do produce. And I would just say, please come visit us. If you're at the estate, you will meet DeMarcus, who is our head of the Cru brand at Vineyard 29. And if you are down here at the Annex, you will meet a beautiful, wonderful spirit named Anna Marie, who is homesick, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness.
And not
Cheers
able
to
to
Anna
join
Marie.
us. Or else you'd be seeing her here right now. Otherwise, please come and see us and learn about the fantastic things that we do with our brand. And we can't wait to meet you.
Also, you're doing
Cheers.
some pouring as well, aren't you, during the Napa
yeah.
Valley
Yeah,
Film
right.
Festival?
During the
In
festival.
secret spots throughout the entire
All right.
weekend. We are at all kinds of different secret spots.
I'll just make sure to follow you. I've taken one sip of this, and I'm like, okay, I'll drink this all week.
Absolutely.
Do you think it's rude to fill it right to the top?
No.
Can you give me a goblet of this, please?
No.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank
you,
for
guys.
doing
Thank
this.
you for having
Cheers.
us.
Thank you for coming
Cheers.
out.
Cheers,
Cheers,
cheers.
cheers,
Thank you so
cheers.
much. We're going to bring in somebody else in a second, but we'll just kind of do
That
our
was
usual
our first
set.
special guest.
Yeah, that was our first special guest.
We have some more on the way. We have Whitney,
Whitney from the
who is
festival is
the
going to come
program
in
manager
and,
of the Napa Valley Film Festival. She'll be joining us in a second.
Yeah, so she'll sit
And she's
down.
wearing a sparkly dress and I cannot wait!
Not yet. So hold on one second, Whitney. We're gonna just do some of our announcements, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what are our basic announcements this week? Pretty general. You guys pretty much know what we have going on. As you know, you can always go to the events page on the ISA website page. You can follow along, of course, on Facebook as well. I'm running a little deal for my Story Farm. You can email me, max@thestoryfarm.org. You know what?
And you just had someone sign up for 2 years.
I did have a 2-year sign up. Yeah,
Which
I
is
don't do
amazing.
that very often. Those are only for continuing writers.
Continuing writers. But anyway, yes, there's
So what do
third
we have?
Thursdays we're celebrating in multiple cities,
Right.
including the two newest, which
Next
is
week.
Boston and Portland. Yeah, next third Thursday we'll be at the Canon in Burbank. We'll have our Fast Track Fellows that have been shown around LA. We can't wait to meet them, CJ and Perez. And then third Thursdays will be at Canon. We are actually going to be supported by Still Wines again at Canon, but you do need to sign up for that. You
Yes.
need to actually join and
And
get your
if
name
you
on the list.
RSVP, this is for the LA one. If you RSVP, you kind of have to go because there's a
It's a limited number, but you do get to be at the Canon in Burbank, which
Yeah.
is so fantastic, and it's so lovely there.
Yeah.
And you get free wine. But you do, if you're coming, please don't sign up and then not come because it makes us sad. And then it's the final deadline for Table Read My Screenplay Park City, and the final deadline is November 28th. So that's kind of coming up. So we've got the last month to polish your scripts and get that all ready.
tablereadmyscreenplay.com. You can check that out.
And that's going to Park City and Sundance in January. And then really it's down to what we're talking about, which is knowing your audience.
Yeah, we want to, and we'll get into that a little bit, and Whitney can probably help with that too when we bring her in. But you know, because we're at a film festival, and because we have so many writers who are applying to contests and finishing movies and shorts and submitting to the whole film festival circuit, we kind of want to talk about a different level of understanding why and how to submit, as opposed to just filling out an application and just randomly choosing contests. And I think
Who's
Whitney?
Wendy? When
being
does
the
Wendy
program
get here?
director, being the program director, she'll be able to talk a lot about
He's
how
had
the-
2
this
sips of that
festival-
wine. That's how good it is.
Barely. We need to pour more. Oh wait. Oh, she's got a giant glass over this. It's like she needs 2 hands to hold it. All right. So, know your audience and audience expectation. We're going to get into a lot about that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. But we'll get into some specifics.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when talking of Table Read My Screenplay, for example, that's a good one.
Right.
I do a lot of reading for that. And because the actual prize is going to a film festival as a winner, where you're going to meet other filmmakers, then I think it's really important that you choose a script that would make a good table read. Because whoever's judging that, normally me, would be looking for something that then actors can make a great job of, that they can find a lot of character,
Well, and also
tone.
so that your main character isn't technically the narrator reading all of the action. If you have a heavy drama or heavy action, a lot of table reads this just isn't going to work that well. You're probably going to be choosing a relatively smaller independent or a romantic comedy or an outright comedy. Pilots work well. again, depending on genre.
I mean, shorts, it's different because, and there is a short element to that, and you win $750, and we do a live reading of it, and then it goes up on the ISA podcast. That is a bit different because it's just about getting into the world, telling the story really quickly, and having an emotional connection in an arc that is tiny, but that still kind of hits all the beats and gives you a nice sign-off.
Right, right. And then there's a whole other element to this, not just in contests and festivals, but of course, if you're never going to submit to contests or festivals, you still need to understand who your audience is, just from a genre standpoint, who and what studios or companies or producers, managers are going to be interested in this material. You need to be doing that research. So we'll get into that a little bit more. We had a little comment from Mary saying, Felicity, you look sensational.
Thank you, Mary!
We have...
You haven't seen Whitney yet.
I was going to say, so Whitney is wearing a lot of sparkles. Felicity's usually the one wearing the
I know
sparkles.
I'm wearing my pearls, but
Yeah.
I feel very at home. I feel like we're sisters and we didn't even know each other yet.
Yeah, yeah. So Whitney, why don't you come on in? She's taking some video, I think, for the crew and
Come on in!
in general to all of our friends. But come on in, Whitney.
I'm
So
in social media mode.
Look at
there
this
she is.
outfit.
Look how sparkly.
Look
Yeah,
at
look at
Whitney.
that.
And you can change it.
You can
It's
change it.
sparkly
It's
up
like
and down.
magic.
I have a Christmas jumper like that with a Christmas tree that does the same thing.
Oh my god.
And I love it. Sometimes it's green, sometimes it's gold. Women are
I'm
allowed
gonna
to,
need that.
are allowed to touch my chest. Men, I hold it away like that.
I don't even do it when you do that because that's still weird.
I'm gonna need to see a picture of that by the time the night's over or the week's over. But yeah, thank
All
you
right,
so
so
much.
Whitney, tell us who you are. What do you do for the Napa Valley Film Festival?
The camera's over here,
Camera's over
hidden
there.
over there. Hello, everyone.
Perfect.
This is Whitney. Isn't she beautiful?
I blush.
I'm going to pour more wine.
My name is Whitney. I am the director of programming for the Napa Valley Film Festival. I am elated to be here and chatting with these two today. I've been waiting to meet them.
It's been a while, like a few months that we've been planning this.
Months and months. It's one of those things that I so look forward to all year long. I get to watch essentially thousands of movies all year, and finally when we make those selections and when we're working with wonderful people like you and wonderful organizations, you're setting up all of these screenings, all of these connections that you see happening in the future, but you never really realize how incredible the experience is until you meet, that filmmaker that made that film that so moved you, and the film makes more sense when you meet them. And I kind of feel like I'm feeling that now too. This organization is incredible, and meeting you two today is fantastic. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. No, it's absolutely our pleasure.
Yeah, right. They gave us wine and a very cool
It's
location.
so good. And if you can see, just fun, if you guys know or
difference
don't
between the
know,
glasses.
the difference between the glasses, I am drinking a Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley, and they are drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon from here.
Yeah,
So the
Vineyard
Willamette
29.
Valley is up in Oregon, and this is from St. Helena from Vineyard 29.
Right, same way.
And this is their 2016 cab that they were just talking about. And look at its legs. You can't see it, but it has the most incredible
Beautiful
legs.
legs.
Excellent legs.
Molly says hi, Whitney.
Yeah, Molly, you're going to see Molly tomorrow.
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
So, all right, so the film festival. Now, in conjunction with what we're talking about, knowing your audience, what is your mandate? What's the mission of the festival?
The mission of the festival really is to bring together people and independent filmmakers, and especially in this valley, bring stories and people together that wouldn't otherwise meet. I think that is such an incredible calling. It's also to enhance the lives of the filmmaker and be able to grow their personal and professional lives, and in any way that we can enhance that. We have a lot of people in the Valley who are looking to fund films, looking to get into the film industry in any way that they can, as well as, bring this experience to a filmmaker who's potentially been through the circuit all year. We're in November, we're sort of toward the end.
Yeah, right.
And it's really a thank you. It's a thank you to filmmakers for making the films that they have, for bringing them to life, for bringing it to an audience who really needs to hear about it. And it's the filmmaker's duty and their calling that they have put this story on the screen and brought it to life in a way that it can affect people's lives. So much of what I love is films that I never knew that was happening in the world. I never knew that that was a story that existed. So something we're really passionate about.
So you mentioned something interesting there in terms of your festival being kind of near the end of the year, the end of the circuit, so to speak. Maybe talk about the film festival circuit in total, not only with Napa, but what does that mean by the end of the year? Because you may not get a lot of world premieres at your movie.
Yeah.
However, you did play Silver Linings Playbook,
Yeah.
so you do get Oscar winners.
Right, yeah.
So-
And you're going to be premiering, well, I don't know if it's a premiere, but Green Book is opening the festival.
Green Book's playing right now,
It's playing
actually.
right now, and we're missing it.
We're missing Green Book.
It's playing again on
Okay.
Saturday. So
All right.
up at the Cameo.
Keep your eyes out for Green Book. It'll probably be nominated.
It's incredible. I had the pleasure of seeing it early on, and wow, what an incredible performance by Vico. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so going back to the idea of the film festival circuit and sort of where we are on that map, obviously you've got your Sundance, you've got your South by Southwest, you've got all of those incredible festivals at the beginning of the year, where a lot of people are looking for distribution or looking to get their film out there. And that's interesting for us because some of the films that I go see and love at some of those festivals already are picked up and out on, some sort of streaming platform by the end of the year.
Right.
So I get a lot of really incredible films, but some of those ones that are coming into a Sundance are now coming to me as an award season contender.
Say you get the buzz instead, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we also have some of the most incredible independent films. I'm in love with so many that are here this year.
How do you choose those?
How do I choose
Are there
those?
premieres for some of those?
There are premieres for some of them. It's sort of across the board every year.
Yeah.
For different categories, we have different premiere restrictions. We have different category restrictions in general. Our Artist in Residence program and films in competition. Those, we have 9 documentaries and 9 narratives, and those all generally are a Northern California premiere. They're generally a U.S. production, pending some exemptions.
I think an important
Yeah.
note is that because it's the Napa Valley Film Festival, it doesn't mean that you will be looking for movies that have something to do with food and wine.
Oh, certainly not.
Right.
Although
I
that
think
is
it's an
very
important
much
thing to
part
say.
of the experience when you're here.
The festival is definitely part of that
Can
experience.
you tell?
Yeah. I think the whole point of bringing all this up is that when most of the people watching are screenwriters, but eventually you're going to be getting into the independent film world. Hopefully your movie gets produced or something. You need to be selecting the right festivals for your movie. So what kind of advice would you give writers when if let's say they have a project that's done, they're looking to get it out and around?
And or they're
festivals?
becoming a filmmaker, or they're moving it to getting it shot, and then what's your?
How do you approach the film festival circuit, I guess is the question.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and something that actually came up today in one of our Artist in Residence program panels. I guess it's really the idea of who's your film for, what type of distribution plan are you looking to engage with, because some people go into it with no idea. Like, I
No.
just want people to see my
Yeah,
movie.
right.
Yeah.
Some people make the movie and finish it, and by the time it's done, they're like, I want to go here, I want to be here, I want to be out on Amazon.
Right.
I think it really depends. For us, we're really about audience engagement. We love to have the filmmaker here. We love to connect the story with the audience, with the filmmaker, and have it all be one thing. A lot of our, not marketing per se, but I think a lot of love that comes from this festival is people going around and talking to their friends and really relaying that experience that they've had. And I don't know, we've had a lot of films come out of here that have gotten distribution, but it's not by a big company, coming in like a Netflix
It
or
doesn't
like an
seem
A24.
it's not a Toronto International or a
No.
Tribeca where distributors are going to try to acquire movies. It's a different kind of festival, which I think helps independent filmmakers because you have a venue, you have a place to show your films, get noticed,
and a community.
and there's a community.
That's the difference. Is that it feels like I guess you have people coming back to you. So filmmakers.
Yes. So and maybe my favorite thing about this festival, and I've been here for 5 years now, is that when I first started with the festival, I met a lot of really incredible filmmakers who are here with their own, shorts
Right.
or other independent feature films. And now they've come back to me 2 years later, and 2 years after that, having met people here and having made films together, this festival is truly about networking. It's about the community. As you can tell, what a great time we're having here just sitting.
And there's nobody even around us right now. This is a relatively quiet area of the festival.
Exactly, and even like the essence of what you see behind us with the locks, it's about really getting in touch with someone beyond passing a business card. It's about having an emotional connection to a person to the point where you're like, I want to work with them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really what our festival is about.
Well, even Lauren said that about this space, in the fact that she said it's more about the person than the company.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what I'm feeling is what you're saying about the festival, is it's actually about your work, your vision, and then helping you
Yeah.
by finding some other people that can maybe move you forward.
Absolutely. And a big part of my job is recognizing people and what they're doing now and what they're focused on doing in the future, and finding other people at our festival and connecting them. Whether that be people who want to finance films, some of our big patrons, or an incredible indie actor who wants to meet an upcoming director and they make a gorgeous film together.
Somebody's
So,
commenting saying, quote unquote, people in the valley looking to fund films. Noted. We're going to remember that. Yeah. There are a lot of wealthy people in the Napa area, so of course, yeah.
Is there a theme or a kind of because I think definitely it becomes a zeitgeist about moments in history about films that suddenly everyone's doing The Huntsman or Snow White and the Huntsman. Is there something you've noticed this year in the theme of the movies, or
oh my
In
goodness.
general or in the film festival?
in the film festival, I would say? So is there something that's been overarching? I mean, I'm judging the narrative shorts, and I must admit I have noticed a theme. So
I'm fascinated to know what she's about to
Yeah,
tell me,
right,
because we worked on those all year. I think across the board, I can't all the way speak through documentaries, but it's really, again, just back to connecting people. It's unique friendships, and it's sort of suspending your disbelief about preconceived notions about people or things or places, and just going for it, engaging, being a part of something new.
Yeah.
That's really something I think. Even Green Book tonight, what a beautiful film. But it's really about suspending what you knew about a person,
Yeah.
and just really going for that
What are you
connection.
noticing?
Yeah, tell me about the shorts.
Well, I've looked at the first screeners, and it felt very much about connection and family, and the kind of the inner vision, the inner spirit, as opposed to the outer. And I felt that was, I think maybe in this weird time that we're living in, maybe that's something that's kind of.
The irony is that the filmmakers
forward.
submitting don't necessarily know that theme is hitting, right? I mean, it's, when what is your application like? Like, what does a filmmaker have to do to apply?
Well, generally it's submitting to somewhere like Without a Box or Film Freeway
Got it.
now, and
Okay. Yeah.
sometimes I have people just reaching out left and right, like, hey, I met you 3 years ago. But a lot of it is through those sites, and it's a standard application. But what's really interesting, especially about something like shorts, is the way that we curate our shorts are in programs. They're not generally shown before a feature film. They're
Right.
always shown together in a very curated, tasteful mix, and we even curate from like what should show first, second, third, how do they all touch each other, how
Yeah.
do they all blend together as one
Sure.
patchwork narrative. So I think what's really interesting that filmmakers don't understand, it's always when they're submitting to our festival in particular, it's always like, oh, has my film gotten in, why didn't it get in? And really every year it's a very unique selection, because it's not always what I'm looking for, it's what I find.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And how they all touch each other and connect.
Because every festival is kind of at the whim to what is submitted.
Yeah, what's given
There's
to
no
me.
request for a call or anything. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
what
every
color
contest
palette.
is the same too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
yeah.
is. And finding that connection and giving it a cohesive theme or an idea
Certainly.
is definitely your job as a programmer, a head
Yeah.
programmer.
Yes, and I will shout out my counterpart Amy. She does do most of the shorts in particular, and she really has an eye for it and is so incredibly passionate about the topics you just touched on. Even some of our narrative features, When We Grow Up, You Can Choose Your Family, they're all very
Yeah.
based on the unique American or blended American family and what that means
Right.
to connect. It's
And
fascinating.
You Can Choose Your Family is directed by Miranda Bailey,
Yep.
Yes.
who we have a close connection with recently with one of the projects that we've gone out with.
Awesome.
Which we don't need to go into right now. But when I saw
Secrets.
that when I saw that on the schedule, I'm
Good
like, oh my god, I hope
secrets.
Miranda's going to be at the festival. Do you know if she's going to be here?
Well, I hung out with her today.
Oh, come on. Okay.
Yeah, she's here. She's probably across the street right now.
All right. Well, we'll have to go
Oh,
say
that's
hi.
exciting.
Phil Parker is saying, and Phil's in Australia, this should be broadcast in virtual reality so we can all have some Napa vibes.
I agree.
I wish I
Sorry.
would hear. Can I pass
Yes.
you some?
Yeah, right. This
is
is
for
probably
you.
not close enough. But then we have somebody from Tasmania watching. Martin, hello, welcome.
Hello, Martin.
You're-
I think that's what you need. You need those 3D glasses so that you could feel like you were in it.
It's too
Yeah,
bad
but
you
you'd
can't
like a
taste
4D.
in it.
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Yeah.
5D
be
with the
amazing.
smell.
Does it help, Phil, that it's really delicious?
Yeah, sorry, Phil. It's terrible. All of this it's a horrible experience. You don't want to be here. Well, so in terms of audience and expectation, it's something that goes for filmmakers and screenwriters, all together. There's understanding the genre you're writing for, or the genre your film is being produced in. I mean, it sounds so simple, but a lot of times we read scripts and in early draft form, the reader can very easily start going, wait a minute, what is this? Is it a comedy, or is this a straight drama? Is it a romantic comedy? If it is a romantic comedy, I'm not seeing any romance.
Yeah.
And if you're selecting
If
a
it's a comedy and there are no jokes.
yeah, right. If you're selecting a category,
What is
either in a
this?
festival or a contest, it better fit that category. And try not, stay away from this. Well, it's a paranormal, procedural drama with romantic elements. That no one knows what that is. You want to keep it as simple as possible, but it's mainly not just for the reader, but for the eventual end result of where this movie is going to end up. Is it going to be on Amazon? Is it going to be on Netflix? What are they looking for? Is it going to be theatrical?
I think there used to be a time where you could just write something and you'd hope that someone picked it up. Now you have to be your own marketing person at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have to
Yes.
work out where it's going to go and who's going to like it, and give yourself a few little ticks along the way so they kind of understand straight away. I read once that I think I don't know if it's J.K. Rowling or not, but it was about an author who wrote a book, and they basically did the research on the publishing house, and they
Oh,
found out that the
yes.
font that they used, they found out the spacing that they
Right.
used, and they did that research so that when their script came in, it looked like it was already one of theirs. And
Yeah.
I think that kind of research for a production company is kind of now what you have to do.
Wow.
In subtle ways that can work. Like in other industries, in the food and beverage industry, if you go to an interview and you're already dressed as a waiter, that might be a
No,
little
that's like
weird.
being an actor. That's what you have
Right.
to do as an actor.
Yeah, right. If you already dressed as the role, people would be like, wow. But it could work in some ways.
No,
though,
in
right?
an actor you have to. I mean, like you really have to wear something that kind
They tell
of
you
gives
what to
you.
wear. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I once was playing a psychotherapist, and I have a white Mac, and I just walked in with that kind of like, with a pen, before I even sat down, and I got the job straight. I mean, and I think it was basically the Mac. It was definitely the Mac,
Yeah.
and then the fact that I was British, because those two things.
Just that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a level of it comes with identity. People want to be familiar with something, that you want to know what it is that I'm about to sit down and read or watch.
Certainly.
And so in the film festival, like how many films did you review before you said, here are the ones we choose?
Probably upwards of several thousand.
Wow.
Wow, that's a big.
Well, yeah, and it's very important to us too to watch all of it.
Yeah.
Because several of the films that you'll see in the festival now, at first when I'm watching the film, it's one thing.
Yeah.
And then by the end, it's something entirely different. We have a drive-in up here. We have the Calistoga Drive-In, and I popped in last night to make sure everything was looking good and everyone was happy. There's flames and all kinds of crazy things up there.
That's cool.
I was sitting and watching the last 10 minutes of a film called The Dancing Dogs of Dombrova, and I just burst into tears.
Wow.
Because I forgot how moving the last couple of minutes were, when the beginning of it is sort of a dark comedy.
Right.
Okay.
So it's really fascinating
And
what
that's
the film
interesting
can
because
turn
it's a
into.
little bit of a difference in terms of what I've been saying, because
Yeah.
you do go in thinking it's dark comedy, it's something else. So that's difficult. And I think it's difficult for the writer to do that. And if you can pull it off, fine. But it's not necessarily, it's a little different when you're going from, this is, a romantic comedy and it turns into a horror. Like now we've got a little too big of a,
That's fair.
dark comedy into family drama, then you're a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the idea of something being a little bit ironic or dark and then becoming strangely moving.
Yeah.
I just immediately think of Futurama. I feel like every episode that I see is written in a way that if you're paying attention, you get hit really hard
Yeah.
by something specific. So I find that really fascinating. And I'm curious, I have a question for you, just sort of on this subject of marketing yourself as a screenwriter. I've recently been talking to some people at the festival, and it's a topic on several of the panels about when you're writing your script, how much are you going to allow all of this that is going to allow you to sell your film, allow your film to be actually turned into a feature or a short. How much are you letting that influence your story? These small little pieces.
It's a really good question.
You know,
Your
it's
personal story, you mean?
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
story that you're writing, how much are you letting the idea that, you know, you've got to make this applicable to people who want to make it
I see.
and sell it?
Yeah.
Like, does anything change that as you're writing it?
As you're writing.
You know, and how, you know, it's a fascinating thing people have been talking to me about, and I really don't. I think you should write it as is and go from there.
Yeah.
But it's just been a really interesting conversation. I don't know if I'm asking it
I
the right
think
way.
if you have the idea and understand what your idea is and you
Yeah.
feel it's unique enough, just don't worry about end result at first.
Okay.
Once you get to, but there's so much that comes into the development of an idea. You have to understand, because a producer is going to ask, what is this? And
Exactly.
When they ask that, they mean, who am I selling this to?
Exactly.
So that then brings you another level of who are the distributors that take these types of projects, or who are the financiers that take these types of projects? What are the studios that you have to understand that my movie, whatever it is, could go to an MGM, it could go to a DreamWorks, it could. And now the issue with a lot of these studios is that they make a lot of different types of films,
Yeah.
and then so now you're then looking at some lower level, kind of mid-level studios that then are like a Blumhouse that focus a lot of a little bit more on one genre than the other. I wouldn't let it affect your writing.
No, I was going to say, we always say you have to write from your heart.
Absolutely.
But you
Because
do need to understand
but
what
you
you're
have to
trying
understand
do.
the business.
Yeah.
Yeah, you write from the heart, but understanding the business.
Yeah.
And like we were saying earlier, is that used to be the case that you didn't have to worry about it.
Oh,
but you do
absolutely.
now. We've become very sophisticated as an audience. Even like that whole idea, I really love that quote that Meryl Streep says, where she always chooses films where you can watch the first 5 minutes and you don't know who's good and bad, because normally with a movie you can watch the first 5 minutes and go, good person, bad person, best friend,
Yeah.
villain.
It's true.
And whereas actually she always chooses something where that isn't the case.
Huh. Interesting.
And even
All right,
a Devil
Meryl.
Wears
Take that
Prada,
challenge.
she didn't want her character to be an out-and-out villain. She wanted to have that vulnerability and that fragility about being
Right.
on her own, even
Right.
though she's a very strong woman. And I think she changed one of the lines at the very end about that.
Yeah.
Um,
and Mary is bringing up a good comment here. She says, good to remember if your audience will be leaving home to get to a theater, or will they be inviting your film into their own homes?
Yeah.
And that line used to be so much more of a clear-cut line.
yeah.
It's so blurred now because Netflix, especially Netflix, and Amazon, and eventually Apple's coming in, and Hulu is starting to get us some movies, not as much, but now Netflix is making movies that could very well end
Well,
up
they have
in
to
the
do a
theater.
release so they can get to Cannes, otherwise they can't show at Cannes.
You are still kind of noticing, other than this recent one that it was called The Outlaw King or something with
Oh, yeah.
Chris Pine.
It is Chris
Yeah.
Pine.
That's something I could see being theatrical. And so when I saw that trailer, I thought, interesting.
Yeah.
That Netflix is
They
that's
are
a
doing
big
that.
budget movie.
They are doing that. It's basically because Cannes wouldn't let them in if they hadn't had a theatrical release.
Right. Yeah.
So they're now having to, even if it's like a little amount of time, they have to put it out. They have to get a big box office.
So ironically, in terms of Mary's comment, I think more and more we're going to see that it, because home theaters are becoming so much more accessible and easy and that much more technologically advanced, it may not matter. It's difficult. You're not going to see a Netflix make a $180 million animated feature yet. Maybe in the future, you never know. That's still going to be studio kind of stuff. But those lines are being blurred.
Certainly.
I think the thing is you
good
don't
and
want to
bad.
do a Christopher Nolan type movie knowing it's going to VOD. Because you've filmed it on this idea of
Yeah.
it being this massive screen and everyone's watching it.
Right.
It's a certainly experience. This year at South by Southwest, I saw Ready Player One. I did not know what to
Interesting.
expect from that.
Yeah.
Having Steven Spielberg in the audience was
Oh my God, that's awesome.
sitting this far away was
Too
really
fun.
It's an experience getting to
Yeah.
go to the theater, having people jump up and down, scream as the army.
Really?
Yes, I've never been in a theater like that. And
I would have
feel
just been staring at Steven the entire time.
it was kind of a cross between both,
Yeah.
but it was the energy that you could never get sitting on your sofa
Yeah,
at
right.
home
Right.
Totally.
with your dog. I love my dog, but
Yeah, right.
he's not that excited about
I
movies.
think that's a really
He
good
doesn't
point
say- he
because there are
doesn't scream
some
in the same way.
movies that evoke that kind of emotion.
because you're in a community of
event.
people experiencing it with
Yeah.
you together, and
Yeah.
that's I think what's so important about film festivals.
Yes, that's
it's a
true.
very interesting direction that they're headed in. But I think that to maintain that idea, especially what Candace said and what we're talking about now, the idea of experiencing a narrative or even a documentary together with people,
Right.
whether it's about the conversation afterward or just the general experience of camaraderie in a story.
Right.
I think that's a really fascinating
That's such a
topic.
great point, and it's why film festivals are so important. Because like a Netflix movie like Sierra Burgess is a Loser.
Oh, I just watched that.
Really cute movie.
Yeah.
Not a theatrical movie in today's day and age. But you could watch that in a film festival, and you're going to get laughs from at the right time from all the people in the theater, and people are going to cry or whatever. They're going to feel the emotion together. So that's why a film festival can be so important. But that's kind of what we mean in terms of if you've been around long enough, which I assume most of you have been watching.
He means
but
that in a nice way.
I mean, I've been around long enough. But in the 90s, a movie like Sierra Burgess is a Loser probably would have seen a nice theatrical release
Certainly.
with bigger
What were,
John
we,
Hughes.
what were we watching the other day where it reminded me of Last of the Mohicans, which of course is a classic movie, but it's so slow. We were watching. Oh, it was Rudy.
She thinks it's
Oh,
so
really?
slow.
Because he's really into it because he went to school at Notre Dame, so we know this. We've done this a million times, right? But he's really into it. But as also a British person
She was
who's not into
engaged
baseball,
in the
I
first
was
20 minutes.
watching. I was watching, but I was like, this is so slow in comparison to the movies now, where we just
I understand what you're saying.
And The Last
the 90s
Mohicans
had a
is the
different
same
feel
thing.
to it.
and
yeah.
Dances with Wolves is so slow. but
Terribly
it's
slow.
so
English
wonderful.
Patient. Can you imagine the English
So
Patient
fast.
That's
being
one of my
made?
favorite
It's so
movies.
good.
though.
I get it.
have no qualms
I get
with
it.
the pacing.
And you know, but I think that's something everybody writing a script needs to understand.
Yeah.
That if you're writing an Indiana Jones type adventure, great, do it. It's going to be theatrical, but the problem is that you're hindered by the fact that you're an unknown writer. So you're going to have to figure out a way
Yeah.
to get it in front of people who can actually do that. The irony is that these prestige movies, like we have a couple of projects that we're trying to go out. One of them is kind of this very art house independent film festival, great
Darling.
leading role type of project.
All the
Maybe
female
$1.5 million,
character.
$2 million.
So,
It's going to be very difficult to get that movie made. But if you get the right people involved, suddenly it could be a green book, So you have to understand what that script is. You can't think that your green book script is suddenly going to be a $300 million movie. It's just not.
I feel like they're
It's just not
teasing
right.
so many exciting things happening right now that I'm just gonna bug them about after. So
Yeah.
this is amazing.
I was going to say the 300 million have to be like 280 million on the cast, on the producers, and then
Yeah, right. Yeah.
that's the only way you could spend that money on
Yeah.
that movie.
Our social media person, I watch movies on my Apple Watch.
No,
All right. Do you?
no.
I have a hard
Courtney.
time with my phone. Like I've been at the gym watching movies on my phone. I'm like, this feels wrong.
Courtney is younger than us, but
That's going to ruin your eyes, Courtney. Did
Yeah.
you not watch Little Prairie? What was that thing on the prairie?
Little House on the
That's
Prairie?
it. She
Little-
read under the sheets.
Oh my
She
gosh.
read under the sheets with a candle and lost her eyesight. Courtney, what can I say?
That must have been why my mom told me to stop reading in the dark. Okay, I see this now. I never watched that.
It's way before your time.
yeah.
It came over to the UK probably a little bit after it was shown in the US.
So, and it's interesting. We can do maybe another 15 minutes or so, but
does that mean we can have some more
we
wine?
definitely
Yes.
gonna have some more wine. But
Yes.
movies made in the 80s and 90s definitely moved slower than the movies made today, and it's like across the board psychological and cultural because in terms of the comparison, because the MTV nation hit the airwaves in the 80s and it completely changed how people watch TV, because we would watch things in just quick snaps as opposed
Well,
to
like-
let's watch The Goonies for 2 hours.
I also think
love The
adverts.
Goonies, but I've watched it many times. It's
I watched
pretty
it a
freaking
few
slow.
weeks ago, and it, in ways it aged well, but again, exactly what you're saying, the pacing,
Yeah.
the movements, it's...
Well, I
see what
also
you
think
mean.
it's because we suddenly got things. It used to be that you could watch a movie so you could kind of fall into it. Then adverts came along and sliced it up, and in the slicing
Right.
it up, it became bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
So then you weren't as aware.
Yeah.
of either it was slow or that you weren't in it as much. So
Yeah.
it's trained us into this slightly like
I mean,
a
the
million
fact that
things.
I get annoyed, like legitimately in my chest frustrated when I have to wait through a 5-second ad on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh, 5 seconds. I have to wait 5
I've
seconds.
like closed my laptop on one once, and someone was like, "Don't they last only a few seconds? If not, you know."
You can skip it, right? Or whatever.
Oh, it's like that's the Black
it's
Mirror episode, isn't it? Where basically it stops playing until if you close your eyes, you have to look at it. And they've started doing that
Right.
with Facebook. You can't put another thing on top of it if you're watching an ad for 15 seconds.
No, right. They kind of freeze you a
they've
little
frozen
bit.
it.
Yeah, I just closed
Black
Facebook.
Mirror.
I'm like, up yours, man. I'm not. This is-
Technologies.
It's crazy, but it's an important thing
Courtney.
to consider. You know, Lindsay.
No.
Off the Apple Watch.
Yeah, right. With the easy accessibility on platforms like Netflix, YouTube, our audience is getting more impatient, losing attention quicker these days, and do we have to write to suit that attention span? I think it's a good question and it's right on point in terms of what we were saying. No, I don't think we have to write to suit that attention span because you need to write what feels good for you because you know what your own attention span is. If you're reading that script and you're not feeling emotional, the reader isn't going to feel emotional. You have to judge that for yourself. Yes, we need to skip things ahead and try to get on with it, as Monty Python always said, but it depends on genre. If you're writing an English patient epic type of movie,
Yeah.
don't worry about it. Let people sink into it. You know, the problem is, in today's day and age, that'll probably turn into a writing sample as to something that's going to actually get made, but that can still get your work.
And sinking into it is really about having the depth of the story for something to sink into, not just that it's slow. So if it really touches us in a way that is very emotional or a new way of looking at something that we haven't thought about, I mean,
Courtney's making fun of me. She's quoting me. Well, she didn't quote me, but she said, "Your wine is getting low, Max. Go for it." And she is saying, "Said by social media person." Sorry, Courtney. It was like it just fell out of my mouth. I don't just
media
call her my social media
person.
person. At least I was politically correct.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little. Just fill up
I
the
think
wine.
they've had too much wine, which means I've done my job. So, cheers to me.
I called her a person. Come on.
I know,
I'm
but like,
kidding.
you know-
Everybody, I'm not.
You should leave that here.
Well,
I
the
can
reason I
still
moved it
sometimes.
over here was mainly because of the warmth. I wanted
I'll
to
put
stay
it
cool.
here
Yeah.
All right.
and not kick it over.
Yeah, Courtney's amazing, I have to say. So talking of like little bursts, the way Courtney puts an idea together for our social media has, it's almost, that's kind of what you need to be thinking, I think, in some way about your script. It's kind of, it's the layers, the arcs, the themes, and then a burst of something to kind of, if it's going on for a bit, let's get back in, let's have that
Courtney, they're
spark.
calling you brilliant. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
So they're making up for everything. So just
Courtney
listen.
knows. Courtney
Whitney's
knows
already
the-
got us sussed, oh my goodness.
Courtney knows and understands, the social media culture and how short that attention span is, that meme culture, if you will. And I think it is directly related then into any storyteller. You have to
Yes,
understand
she's a great storyteller.
your meme. You have to be able to tell an entire story within an image. And if you have a couple little words around it, people are going to laugh at that. And so that is a little bit of a reference to understanding the DNA of your project. What is my project? Like I brought this up in broadcast before, but I have this idea that I haven't written yet, but I'm calling it Attachment. And it's about this girl in her late 20s who's a party girl, doesn't want to date anybody, and she and her friends go and have fun at some little, like, what the local haunted house kind of thing, and she actually does bring a ghost home with her.
Oh my gosh.
And I had this funny question of what if the ghost didn't want to go home with her? And it suddenly turned into a romantic comedy just with the way I'm asking that question. And so he's been trying to leave this whole time, and that's why the hauntings are occurring. And suddenly they actually meet and they can see each other, and they form this relationship and they help each other out. And you have to be able to have that quick DNA in every single scene, and that's why I haven't written it yet, because I don't know what happens in every single scene yet.
There's a woman in the UK who had sex 20 times with a ghost. And
I read
she's
that.
gonna
I just read about this like 2 days ago. How is this happening?
Yeah, she said she had
He wants to
sex
get
with it
married
in
to him.
the airplane bathroom. Yeah, yeah.
I'm a little worried.
Weird, really. I mean,
So it's just foreshadowing of your script, is what I'm saying. Is that it's
it
out
could
there,
turn
Max.
into something very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea. It says let's keep it away from
Yeah,
this.
I think we can. Yeah.
I don't think it's a sexy script. No, I think the fact that he doesn't want to be with her. I mean, are they going to get together at the end, Max? That's the thing.
It's like an
He's a
odd
ghost.
couple.
Yeah. Hot couples. Yeah.
it's
absolutely.
a throwback to the old
What do
movie.
you mean he's a ghost?
He's dead. He's a ghost.
There's someone who married a bridge.
It's like a combination of Ghost and that one movie where the two stuck on you and they're like stuck together.
Yes, a little bit. That's funny. I'm going to use that. No, it's a throwback to what they say. The original romantic comedy was, I think, like 1941 or something, called The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. And Mrs. Muir was this woman who moved into this old mansion on the seaside, and it was haunted by a captain of some ship, and they ended up falling in love. He helped her write a book out of his journals, and it's cheesy.
This is way better than my idea. So. Just
Did
saying.
she kill herself so they could be together?
No, it's a happy ending.
Oh.
All right, well, let's see. We've got Anthony saying, I'm already at 120 pages, but I still need to add more character. So the tricky word there, Anthony, is
He's
add.
120.
You don't want to add. We want to be,
Enhance.
yes, enhancing and throwing in layers within what you currently have. Changing scenes that you currently have, removing some that may be keeping us away from understanding the character. Sometimes long scripts can take us away from that. If we spend 45 pages and we haven't yet gotten launched into whatever that goal pursuit is, we're not going to care about the character because it's been too much.
Yes, and it's 120 pages is already a very big story, and if the story's too big, maybe you should think about taking some of the story out and making it affect us more. So having the characters go through more, feel more, us connect with them.
I've noticed that, like, looking at really like strong high concept ideas like Liar Liar and 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up and these really easy to understand and grasp
Very
stories.
deep stories.
But looking at them in a
Liar, liar, like at a sleepover.
yeah, looking at them in a structural sense. I have a purpose here.
I know.
Looking at them in a structural sense, and then following along in the first like 7-8 minutes of that movie, whichever one, and kind of keeping tabs on how you feel in terms of how much you know about that main character. That should technically be applied to any story. I don't care if you're writing some epic war movie or a fantasy with trolls. You know, you want to understand who the main character is, or like Meryl Streep says, get an understanding of what the character might be. You know, it doesn't have to be that direct.
Doesn't have to stay there.
But using the romantic comedy as a structural example can help you. I use that example all the time when I'm working with my writers. Anyway, I'm not asking a question, so I apologize. I'm just going off on a rant here. Anything we want to add? Anything you want to talk, like say advice in terms of writers?
Yeah,
looking
because
to
the
writers?
reason why we support screenwriters so much is to build a community and to say without them, there are no films. This is the whole point as to why I got involved with filmmakers. You know, I started my life as an actor, and I love screenwriters so much because without them, there is no story.
Absolutely.
And we need to support them. They were always really down in the food chain, you know, not respected very well. TV has changed that a lot. But
This might be a quirky sentimental thing of mine, but I really like the idea of writing from the heart. I guess I brought up the idea of writing to appease the commercial masses, or writing to appease a distributor, or writing to appease a production company, because I found it a little bit disturbing. I'd never really heard that was something that people were bent around. I can understand why it would be happening, but I don't know that I have advice, but just as a programmer myself, just know that every story that you write, no matter how odd it might seem, no matter how unique it might feel, there's someone out there that's going to see that, connect to it, and be moved by it. I like to sit in on audience Q&As. That's one of my favorite things to do at the festival. And I've had really life-changing moments, validating moments for me as a person, getting to put films out in front of people and listen to someone say something in the audience that I never would have expected. I had a man stand up in the audience after seeing a film called Honey Glue in 2015. He stood up and said, you know, it was about a woman who was diagnosed with cancer and basically had an identity crisis and ran all over, and it's a gorgeous movie. He stood up and said, "I'm a filmmaker, and I've put down my camera for 2 years because I lost somebody close to me who was dealing with the same thing." And he said, "After seeing this movie, I'm going to pick my camera
Oh
up
my
and finish
God.
the story." And it's things like that where
Right.
no matter what you write,
Yeah.
someone's connecting to it. So I would never doubt yourself in your own unique and just personal ideas. I guess that's like my one thing. I'm just
Feelings
always
are universal. You just got to connect with one
Yeah.
that's inside of you. Somebody else is going to relate to that feeling.
Yes.
Yeah, and trust yourself.
Yeah.
Trust,
Yes.
trust. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Certainly.
believe in you.
Yeah. Well, so thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Whitney, for bringing
Oh
us
my
out
gosh.
here. The huge thank you.
I'm so excited.
We are so
This
Whitney
so
is the
fun.
reason that we're here, honestly. She brought us out to the Napa Valley Film Festival and put us up in a really very, very nice hotel.
Very
so
nice
thank you,
hotel.
Whitney.
Yes, thank
I
you so
appreciate it.
I do my best.
We're gonna go drink more wine and hopefully put some food in our tummies. But let's see, where we're gonna be on. She's gonna hold the wine for us.
Honestly, this
She's ready
Cabernet is
to go.
amazing. You want to try it. If
We
you
are
can get
gonna
it-
be off until after Thanksgiving, correct?
Yes.
We are not on next week. We are on the 28th and then December 5th.
No, we are. Are we not on next week because it's Wine Wednesdays? I mean, we're doing Third Thursday, but we're not doing one a broadcast.
We are going to have to let you know.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's just we have the Fast Track Fellows with us.
If
so I
Molly's
don't
still
know.
watching, she'll be able to let everybody know. But I have a feeling we have only 2 broadcasts left, the 28th and the 5th.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Till
Of
the
course,
end of the year.
The 28th and the 5th, we're going to be talking about movies pertaining to Christmas and holidays. So.
And then on the 5th, because it's going to be our Christmas party, I want everyone to be wearing some kind of Christmas outfit. I'm going to be wearing
have
my
to wear that.
my like tree that does this.
Oh, on the broadcast.
on the broadcast, and then everyone can send a photo of themselves.
That's a good idea.
Oh my gosh.
I want that to happen.
That's a very good idea. We all
I'll be
have phones and
watching.
selfies. Yeah, Whitney's like, I will not.
we did what's it called?
A Halloween costume for our Halloween broadcast because it happened to be on a Wednesday and we dressed as the couple from Beetlejuice.
If only I had been here a week ago doing this. My
But I-
costume would have been real.
I know that Gina Davis is here.
Yeah, she
and
is
I
here.
look
Oh shit, that's
so
right.
much like her in a brown
it's
curly
weird
wig.
how much you look like.
I'm
yeah.
going to show you the picture. I drew on a mole. It
I
was
look
kind of
Let's
nothing
try to
like
show
Alec
her
Baldwin.
it, you know?
I look
I'm sure it
nothing
won't be
Be
weird
flattered.
at all.
Yeah, right.
Just, like,
Look
move
at me
away
in this
from
really
me.
dark, scary picture in the back of the
Yeah.
cab.
Go away, you strange person. I can do it from the broadcast. In the
That's
broadcast,
true.
I'm in good light.
That's true. That is, the broadcast looks better. All right, thank you, everybody. We're going to be back
You're the
on
best.
in a couple of weeks.
and I just want to say thank you to Crew again at the Annex.
Thank
Thank
you
you
to
so
Crew at
much.
the Annex.
Thank
This
you
wine is
to
amazing.
Nappy
Napa Unified.
Nappy
Napa
Valley.
Napa Valley Film, and it's only one P. Is
You can go to
Napa Film.
nvff.org if you want to find out more. It's turning
Find out
into one of
more.
the bigger contests or festivals, so you got to be paying attention.
You've got to come and you've got to play and you've got to meet the person that's going to finance your
Especially
movie.
if you live in LA. We drove up in what, 6.5 hours? You know,
Yeah,
it
come
would have
and
been
just
less
be
had we
here.
not stopped.
Come
And I
be here and
greeted
watch
them
the
with
movies.
this.
And it was
Yeah.
like,
And I
welcome.
could probably do that.
Yeah. Do you want to
Say
come
bye.
and say
Yeah, we
yeah?
are.
Say
Look
bye.
at Demarcus is here to
Thank
say
you,
farewell.
Like a family
Yeah.
Bye guys.
photo
Have a good
together.
night. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, come and see them, honestly.
Cheers.
And you can
Bye.
come and just get a ticket, so come and see the movies.
Yeah.
Meet some
It's true.
people. It's really inclusive. You can have a lovely time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. We will
Thank you.
see you
All right,
soon.
cheers.